Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Go. So, today we got another doozy of a conversation for you, and I'm going to give the introductory little snippet, and then we'll expand as we always do. And obviously, or maybe not obviously, but this is how it kind of works. Renaé and I always seem to, we get on concepts and have conversation, and it always evolves. So this week, I was really being shown these living fields of, we are a living field. Everything is a living field. And it goes back to the magnetics and just all that we are. We are energy. So, and I was shown a really cool concept while I was getting massage. All the good stuff comes in for me when I'm getting spa treatments. Um, about this concept of we and everything around us is an equation of creation. And we don't have to get on that, but it is really cool to look at because your equation is changing all the time because it's always a recalculating algorithm with everything that's happening in your field. But I was shown that drawn to the original foundational building block. And I've seen this a lot of ways, the divine spark, source creation, point of creation. And to kind of identify that in your algorithm, and how I show it was I hit it with a tuning fork and I let that start reverberating out in my field through my body. And then I kind of identified like all the words, highest self, my truest version, my organic, essence of me. And I tapped that as well. And then this started developing this field of coherence and harmony. Um, so I'm going to stop there because you can play with this a number of ways. But what that got me to was all of a sudden being very aware of my living field. And even within me, my essence, my liver has its own field. My, every little piece and part in your body. And then your relationship with, your cat. Your cat has a living field. So it gets really super dynamic and interesting. And that's a gateway to start talking about pure creation. Um, do you want to jump in or you want me to go to, then I heard the talk with David Clements.
Yeah, I just want to say that when she's saying she hit herself with the tuning fork, it's all energetic. It's an energetic tuning fork. She doesn't have an actual tuning fork. Okay, go ahead.
And it's just an analogy. So I actually thank you for bringing that up. I was just putting attention and awareness on that, and it has its own, again, with the words, its own frequency, its own tone, its own hum. So when I'm putting my awareness on it, it's almost as if I'm hitting it to open up that awareness. So yeah, the tuning fork's just an analogy for attention, intention, and then you open up that energetic, that frequency. So I know it gets kind of complex, but the cool thing is, I, of course, after that, discovered this talk on YouTube with, he used to be well, he still is a physicist. His name's David Clements. And I forget, I think Infinite Creations is his YouTube channel. But he does talk very sciencey. So you gotta, brace yourself for that if that resonates with you or not. But he talked about the atom and the molecule and photons and how science could per se have a very limited understanding and view of what is happening. And here's the thing. I don't really know much about science or physics, but everything he said, of course, I'm having a conversation with my computer. I know, that's what I see. I totally get it. Oh my gosh, that's how that works. So I love that I kind of had an understanding drop in. And then I very soon was given here, let me give you a little affirmation. Let me give you a little perspective. So maybe, someone else, I can speak in gibberish. Like, don't you see that? Don't you understand that? And Renaé is one of the few people that's like, yeah, I totally get it, But I'm going to say that this is super, super cool because if I'm seeing it and then I'm having the reflection of someone else talking about it who's on a platform of YouTube and there's multiple people, obviously listening to it and having a comprehension of it, it means that there's more availability, more accessibly out in the field. And I'm going to let you go, Renaé, but we'll go the concept of all of these living fields coming alive, and they are coming alive for everybody. It's just whether you want to put your awareness on it. Um, it starts to get wow, exponentially cool, exciting, freaky. What? But okay, you go.
Well, and that's what, when you're saying it's coming alive, know that, she's saying that from the perspective as she had the conversation before we actually went live, where it's already been alive. She knows, like when she's saying that, it's our awareness is coming to this, so therefore we're seeing it as this. It's always been alive. It's always been there. And now, because you're going to be aware, and if you start to use the little, analogy that she used was, you're going within and you're starting to feel the stuff go right into the original building block of whatever and tap that. Everybody knows that sound healing is such a big thing right now. Everybody's pumping it. What did she just do? She did the sound healing, and she felt that vibration. She saw the vibration, the frequencies, all the stuff, going there, and then being very aware of the relationships with other things. And how, Tracy, I can't remember if you said this here, were you, when you saw the relationships and the energies to that stuff, were you able to shift it and change that? Like, let's say you're saying, okay, I'm in a relationship with a business partner or whatever. Could you then see the alive field or whatever between there, and could you shift and change that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, two things. So I kind of played, my kids are always my guinea pigs. I kind of went into, so one of my daughters, and you can kind of, I mean, I guess, or I kind of, or just intend it. I was looking at her creation coding that's going on. We're all being coded and we can receive codes and we're running codes. And so I kind of went into her coding, and if that original snippet, I call it the foundational building block, or I saw it originally as a divine spark. That's always there. It never changes. It's all the layerings and programmings and beliefs that we start building around it into the algorithm. I tapped hers. And it's almost like, again, everyone's, their own living being, but it's just a communication network. Like I went into that and, hey, you, that snippet, I want to talk to you. So bringing both of hers and mine online, now you start to have a coherent field of communication. So it's almost like knocking on her snippet. Hey, come play. And of course it's going to respond. That's you. That's the true essence. It's like play date, you know what I mean? And then once you do that, trust me, I've been playing with this because you can do, like I said, you can do organs in your body. You can do your cat. You can do a a relationship thing. Well, I'm going to look at my, my banking account and go in. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be everything's energetics. It's the energetics of your bank account. Hey, I want to have a conversation with you in the purest form. And then you start building these fields of coherence. And even if you just tap on it, you've opened it up to have a new communication. And the more you tap on it, and we talked about this, Renaé, I do see that I right now I'm very mindfully holding a field and I'm mindful of it. So I keep going back into it and attuning to the highest frequency available, right? The most. And then all of a sudden I can see that my field is and will be more, it just is. I don't have to put awareness on it. I don't have to be holding it. It is the new resonance. It is hit a percentage of, well, now that's truth. So hopefully I'm explaining this, but then you're just walking around and by default, anyone who you're coming into my field, basically, it's hitting that point of remembrance and resonance. So, if you're around me, watch out because you're going to get pinged. And but so anyway, did I explain? Because it gets
Yes.
more.
And one thing you just left out that we talked about before, you no longer have to have an intention because you're just in that field. But I also love, before we went on, when you said somebody coming into that field that may have a different whatever, Remember how you said that, like that water drop, like that's important. So, bring up that point if you remember that.
So let's say that we all have relationships and we all have, the looping programming and the beliefs. Oh my gosh, when they say this, I do this. So let's just say I'm going into business. And of course, I'll say this over and over. Everything is just information. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. It's just perspective, it's opinion. So we're just trying to come into some coherence that we both have the truest version of our experience in alignment with someone else. Instead of you're right, I'm wrong. I'm like, don't try and make my right wrong. You have your right and I'll have our right. Let's try and come into coherence. So I saw that instead of trying to manage the energies, which is what I used to always do, right? You're clearing energy, you're managing energies. It's like, no, you hold that unified field of purity and clarity. And anyone coming into your field, this is how I saw, you just take a little dropper and put a dropper of pure essence on them, and their field will, again, all the words, clarify and be in coherence with yours, which you're holding at this higher frequency. It's just a pure, truer essence. And it's just this cool, oh, well, if you're coming into my field, we're going to operate in a coherent, harmonic way.
Yes, I
Ma-
love that. Yes, yes, that makes perfect sense. And for those of you that are saying, oh, you can't go into someone else's field without getting approval, you have to remember you're going into the field. You're thinking of the human body. Okay, you being the person that's questioning, oh, you can't just do that, you can't screw up. No, you're thinking of the human form. This field is all in coherence with everything. So you're not interfering with anything. You're not going against anything. You're not breaking any energetic laws or anything. What you're doing is you're pulling them up into the true essence, the true field. Right? Right.
Yeah, and it's almost as if it all exists. You're you're kind of saying, okay, I'm communicating through this channel, right? There's bazillions of channels. I'm on this channel of the radar, like on a boat or whatever, the Wi-Fi. This is the Wi-Fi network I'm connecting to. So just FYI, if you want to communicate with me, switch to this channel, network, Wi-Fi unit. I'm using, of course it's not a Wi-Fi. I'm just giving
Right.
analogies because then we're going to have the clearest communication possible. And that's what we all want. It's the clearest for them. I hear you. I hear you clearly and you hear me clearly. It's just back to that coherence. We are now speaking in a greater coherence and harmony. You're just tuning into what already exists in their field. You're not altering anything. You're just like, hey, listen, I want to communicate through this channel that already exists in your field. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like just, yeah, like, hey, go to station 10. I can hear you better there. It's that simple. It really is. Like it's that not invasive, or it's just like that's the most direct, clearest channel of communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you're doing that, just somebody coming into your consciousness, whatever, to have a conversation, they've already agreed beforehand that, okay, look, and I know on some level, I know when I go to have this conversation that she's on a different channel, and it's okay, I'm still going there. So in a sense, it's almost like the human body looking and seeking out, look, at I need to, change my vibration, shift it, whatever, and I need to be in that frequency. Just like when you go to a store and nobody's there, or a restaurant, nobody's there, and then all of a sudden you go in, you're like, wow, you just made it, or why is everybody in this aisle with me? They're all, unbeknownst to the physical form, they're all going for the energy. There is something that field that you're putting out that these people need, and they're coming into that actual field to be cleared out, to be whatever, to raise the vibration, whatever, all the billions of words you could use for all of that stuff. So know that everybody's always moving into a new field. Just like we said in the last conversation we had last week, with the whole point of, you came in to listen to this, by the time you're gone, even just listening to it, you're changing and you're shifting the field. That's what happens. Nobody's ever the same from really, they're saying 1 second to the next, because truthfully, there's no time. So, the healers and all that are saying within every single breath you take, you have completely shifted your field. Well, now, because people are becoming more aware of this, you're becoming aware and shifting into a whole new way of being, which is truthfully the true way of being. And it's a very easy, effortless thing to do when you go back into your true self. You just fall into that beautiful awareness and that beautiful coherence and every aspect of that. And what's really cool about that is everything is going on simultaneously. People will say, past lives, future lives, whatever. It's all simultaneous. So what's happening right now is, and I know I've had a couple questions, not very many, but I've had a couple questions last week on this very topic, unbeknownst to it being this topic, that when people are becoming aware of having different conversations or doing things like as they're dozing off to sleep, or just like going off into a daze and being aware of some other conversation, not knowing who the people are and saying, what is happening? Am I losing my mind? The truth of the matter is everything is happening, simultaneously. So what's going on is other versions of you in the lives that are playing out need to experience something within this field that we're living. Okay. So you might be aware of if you feel sad, or you all of a sudden feel so happy and joyous and you don't know why, or all of a sudden things are just flowing beautifully. Other versions of you are coming in and they're feeling that field. I guess you're sharing in that field. You're inviting them in, or they know that that's the field you're in. So they're just coming into that field to experience that, to be it, and to bring it into the existence they're living, or whatever you want to call it, the timeline, whatever it is. And that, so when you're feeling the things too, it's because this other version of you need to feel, because you're helping them, whatever, cleanse, clear, just feel it, be it. Because eventually what's going to happen is all the times they're coming back together and you're going to merge together as one. I'm hoping I explained that right. Like, did that make sense, Tracy? Did that?
Well, to me, but yeah, and because it's happened to me, it's one of those things that you're just like, like, oh, I just need to lay down for a minute, and you're not dreaming, and it kind of freaked me out. I'm like, what am I even looking at? And it's just interesting. Renaé brought it up, and I'm like, oh my God, that's totally been happening to me. And I didn't know what was happening. Renaé had to explain to me. I was just like, what the heck? But I think that's a cool, and it goes back into last episode of the scaffolding falling behind us. We are merging and clearing, purifying so much stuff in our field, which is everything, all the past lives. It's just the field energy, right? And so you can't lock back into it. I always see it behind me. It's like, no, 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 that's not even there. You cannot grasp into that. And it's coming in really cool ways of, I even totally missed that. I had no idea that's what was happening. I'm like, oh my gosh, that totally makes sense.
Right.
Like, and how brilliant that I really didn't even have to know. It was like a minor irritation of like, why do I keep like, I feel like I'm dozing off, but I'm not. And what is all that story that's playing out?
Mm-hmm.
So all of our conversations are starting to connect together. It's that dissolving of all the, all of the old, and we talked about this offline, and it's not really to bring in the new because it's not new. It is the true. It is what, and true, that's another loaded word of definition. Just purity, just, I just keep going into pure essence and pure creation. Um, which is right there. It's that original. So fun, so much that's fun to play with. I mean, wow, the possibilities are really getting cool. And I know we won't keep you guys forever, but Renaé and I probably give examples before we start recording of how many, I mean, every week we have all these insane examples of these field coherences, or and even energy recorrections in the field. And I don't want to go to a negative, but I'm watching in my world. I have a lot of business stuff. I have a lot of people that are putting out fear or ill intent or trying to manipulate, and it's not working out well for them. And, that's a choice point. So, and that's not, but it's exciting because there's corrections underway that are really happening. So again, not to, but it's the awareness is cool. And that's what, Renee and I can be like, oh my God, I'm like, listen to what happened, wow. And it's not bad. It's just an energetic purification, which is good. It's just that person's chosen reality of how it's going to go down in their field. Did I get a little too off? But anyway, it's really happening. I just want to say to everyone, oh my goodness, the examples that we talk about before we start airing, woo,
Right?
cool.
Yeah, very crazy cool. But and that's the whole thing. Like these living fields are amazing. If you start to really look at every single thing is a living field. Okay. Now this cup, living field, like microphone, like everything is a living field. Now that we're saying that, your system is going to be a little more aware of it. So you may start to feel the whatever, the vibration, the energetic waves, whatever it is. And you may also, have those times where you're like, oh my God, I feel so exhausted. What is happening? And then as you're going into that, because this is the way it happens to me, then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to that. And I'm so aware of all these conversations, happening. But I'm aware of them actually being me, but I don't look like me in a lot of those. And some of them I sort of look similar. So I'm like, oh wow, that's like so crazy. Sometimes I'm actually aware enough to be able to say, let me look at you, look at me. Like and like if my back is in this whatever, I'm gonna call it a movie. Okay. So in this movie, the conversation that's happening there, my back's to me. And I'll be like, look at me. And it'll turn like sometimes it's a man, sometimes and it looks at me, but the eyes are the same. So if you ever want to know about you, just say, look at me or show me your eyes, and you'll see the eyes. You're like, oh, because it's always, they say the eyes are the seat of the soul. It is. The eyes typically are all, well, not typically, they're saying the eyes are always the same. It's always in the eyes. You'll see that version of you, like, oh my God, I know that's me, but I'm a man, or I'm a woman, or I'm a warrior, whatever it is. But I think that stuff is, really cool. Be aware of all of these fields and how they're in your field. If you're struggling with something, you use Tracy's example, like go right into the foundational block of that, tap it, and it's just you don't even have to make the motion. Of course, no, I would, because I'd be like, no, I want to make sure. Just and you'll probably hear, because correct me if I'm wrong, you might have said this on here. Didn't you hear the tone?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Not only hear it, but it's a vibrational, it's almost, try and jump into it. Like let it really, it's a vibration and it's a tone and it's a hum. Yeah,
Yeah.
very palpable if you tune into it, which you can. Just tune into
Mhm.
it. Ask to
Yeah.
tune into it.
Yeah. So do that with yourself. Go right into the foundation block of whatever to, hit that, hit you. And then if you've got something that's coming to mind at that particular moment, a struggle or something, relationship that you want, tap it, tap the whole thing. Because again, exactly what Tracy said, you're coming into that field of true coherence. And it's, what I'll say, because I think you'd understand it, like higher self, it's your higher self, which is such a limited thing to say, quite honestly, in this field is so amazing, and all the living things you'll feel, and you'll start to recognize everything in your life is just vibrating in that field. And then it's just, okay, I'm just existing. And like Tracy said, you don't need intention, you don't need any of this. It just is. That's your way of life. Because whether you like it or not, your life right now, that became your way of life because you are buying into a field. Well, now we're more aware, the world is more aware, where the energy, the fields, it's all there. It's always been there. We're just now recognizing and becoming aware of it, which, I absolutely love. And I love that, Tracy, you're aware of it, because they're always showing Tracy, the saying, she came here to be one of the front runners. So in doing that, when she's doing that, her energy goes down into the earth, into all the foundations. They show all the foundations being affected by the minute you, Tracy, went into that, and how you did that vibration. It went right down into the earth, and everybody's foundational grids and foundational root systems. And I really see them just like a flower or a tree's root system going out, affected every single aspect of that. And you see the vibration hitting. So you just listening to this, whether you're watching it or just listening to it, you will no doubt start to feel a vibration coming up. Even if it's like, oh my God, my feet feel like they're going to sleep or whatever it is. That's the frequency and the vibration, the field that Tracy is allowed to come in. And there's other people, they're saying there's only 5 to 6, which is interesting when they give me a number like that, 5 to 6. Either there's 5 or there's 6. But yeah, there's 5 to 6 other people. Like Tracy and I are always arguing with them, like, what? Come on. So there's 5 to 6 people around the world. And okay, now they're bringing clarification. Like sometimes the 6th one's online, sometimes the 6th one is not. That's why we say 5 to 6. Thank you. So that energy, because they're specifically placed around the world, so that, Tracy comes in, she goes out, it hits a particular part of the world, and the other person, they're all in coherence with each other. Then that goes, so it goes around the entire world and out. They're saying out into the vibrational field of all that is. So it's going beyond our human world. But what's really cool is, and it moves into, and right in the core of all that is, Tracy had talked about that. I don't know. I think it might have been episode 2 or 3, something like that, where the magnetic field, and now the low magnets and the magnets are right in the middle of it. That's all shifting. That's all changing. The entire energetics and all the fields that we have known to be are being blown out of the water right now. And, so thank you, Tracy, for doing all that work.
Who knew?
Right. That's so cool.
Yeah, call me out.
Exactly. But now that people will be aware, and we're bringing the awareness to it, recognize if you have something going on in your body, go into that foundational block, tap it, tap that, whatever. I love that you said like the liver. Go ahead and tap the liver, tap the kidney. If you've been diagnosed with something, start to practice with this, because like they say, everything that you put your attention to, that's the field that's going to come in. It's going to get stronger. And you're going to be surrounded and filled in that field. If you're putting energy to this sickness, they've always said we can heal ourselves, and the vibration and the sound are huge. Well, that's why I love when you said that I took a tuning fork, and tapped it on you, because the whole thing goes in. And again, it's not really a tuning fork, she's just using that as a metaphor, but it's that whole aspect of really start to practice and focus on that. Don't focus on, okay, I have this illness, I have the sickness, and this is what I'm going to do. Or I can't seem to get my life straight. I have no idea where I'm going. What am I going to do? What's happening? Go in and no, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to go into that field where I know that I'm whole and healthy. And I'm going to go into the building block of everything, they're saying everything else, and tap that. Because when you tap that, we're literally showing a block, which is funny to me. Block. And you tap that, and they're showing the vibration move out of that, and the wholeness and is all around the block. So what you've done is you've just bought into this field, right? You've bought into the field. The minute you tap that, it starts to vibrate out. Now the wholeness can start to go down and vibrate with it, becoming whole and healthy, and just meld into itself. It folds in, the whole merging together as one, merges in. But they said a lot of times the human form gets stuck in that. Well, no, this can't be this easy, or it can't be that, or I'm so used to focusing on the illness. And did we? No. I said, did we have Annie on here? I'm going to post Annie's talk on here on our Let's Go, because she did this beautiful talk, and she wasn't talking about anybody would say to her, oh my God, how are you doing? Whatever. She didn't hear any of that stuff. She didn't want to hear it. She went into this field of really being that whole healthy thing, whole healthy body, and became it. That's what you have to do, because they say, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I did this, but I really don't believe. The more you do that, the more you focus on it, the more it's going to come to you. And this goes with anything. Like, some people are recently, oh my God, prices are so expensive. Oh my God, I'm going broke. Well, why would you say that? Because that's what you're going to, create. So now, of course, money always flows to me. Eventually we're not going to need it, but until that point, where of course it flows to me. It's always flowing to me. I always have more than enough, whatever it is, start to put that into, put that vibration. If you start to go into a fear mode of anything, go into the building block, tap that, tap you, let the field expand out. You'll feel it and you'll start to experience and see that in a very, very big way. But recognizing you have to continue to catch yourself. What are you focusing on? And that's why I love, Tracy, when you said that's what you've been focused on. That's what you've been playing with. Like play with it with all sorts of things, because now I'm sure, Tracy, that's what your life is, right?
Well, and I just was remembering, I talked about mold on the last one. You will bring to yourself examples and opportunities to play with this. And it's kind of funny because I was like, yeah, I don't need any more aches and pains in my bodies. And, this arm has been hurting me for a while and it's interrupting my, working out. And so I'm like, I get it. I get it that and it's not too bad. So I'm grateful for that. But I'm always asking to shift focus. And as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, I really have asked to move it out of my body. And even so, I do. I did some exercise yesterday and my whole arm was bugging me. And I'm like, all right, opportunity. Let's do some attunement there. But update for everyone, I did all these mold samples. I expected one of them to just be like overgrowing with mold. Literally nothing. More than 50% of them had nothing. And I live in Florida. And typically there's mold. There is mold in the air. Usually you get a little, so literally nothing, or just tiny little, yeah, of course. That's a very common, everyday house mold or mildew. And then my attention got diverted to EMFs in my house. And it's interesting how, and I ask, show me what needs attunement, and I'm still getting shown in my body. I just told you about my arm, and there's other, I'm like, oh my God, seriously, again? So I get it that it can be, well, it's not working. Well, why does it keep presenting itself? And I do too. I'm like, come on. And it's like, didn't you ask that you wanted to see like even purer? And well, can't it just be like that? You're still learning. Like, settle down, girl. You're still learning. So I asked to move it out of my body. And now all of a sudden, oh my God, I mold in my house. Yeah, not really. Like, or you're in the relationship of creating a harmonic relationship, a symbiotic relationship with the mold. But what about the EMFs? All right, let's go down that route. So life is life. And I just said to Renaé off, I mean, I wouldn't, it's just my personality and I own it and I know it. And I think it would not be as like productive or evolutionary, or I want to be part of the change. If I just sat around and was like, I feel great, everything's perfect. What are you talking about? Like, how boring. No, show me something cool. Damn, I went into a spiral. Oh, okay, wait, now I see some clarity. And I'm using the mold because I talked about that last time on air, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so, oh no, no problem. No problem. You totally thought you were going to have to do mold remediation. Yeah, no. But what about the EMFs? All right, let's play in that arena. But I told Renaé, it gave me opportunity to be like, wait a minute. I'm in control of the magnetics of my house. And I started going into the magnetics and looking for the attunement. No, where is that communication that develops a harmonic magnetic in my home? And I start with my body, clean home, clean body. Then I go to my home. Then I go to my life, which, thank you, Renaé. Then it ripples out to everyone. Then I go in my businesses. So I would not have had that awareness to really look at the wiring and the electromagnetics of my home and what is now conceived in most people as a detrimental, not good. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, as with the mold, let me see if I can see that a different way. I'm going to be in collaboration with it. I'm going to start looking for that algorithm and that one, that's purity, that it comes with harmonics. So I know I always spiral off, don't I?
Oh
What
no,
you get
that's perfect. No, that's
by
awesome.
design. Um, I get it. Like, oh my God, the ache and pain, but it does. And I catch myself, like, why would I have mold? Well, because you wanted to see and learn and know and create a relationship and have that clear communication. And then, of course, I'm sure Renee's laughing at me. No mold in your house, right? I'm like, how'd you know?
Well, but what was great about that was your validation. Like you knew you were working with that symbiotic relationship with it. And, she did do cleaning, some cleanup, herself or whatever. It's not that she was like, oh, there it is. Let's
Yes.
play with it. And then her validation was, okay, look at, you've got nothing, or such a tiny little thing. It's really nothing. Because sometimes that's what we need. We need the validation, so we're not continually spiraling. But then, like you said, then look at how, what took you then to the EMFs and working with that and recognizing how everything is that beautiful field and feeling it. And because once you're aware, the more you're doing this, you're going to be aware of, and if you really pay attention, you'll recognize it when you walk into places. You'll be aware of, oh, this just doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. Anybody doing energy work, if you were taught, like when I was taught Reiki, it was, we walked into a room and our hands were out and you were drawn to a particular place. Well, because the energy wasn't right there. And then that energy was, being cleansed and cleared, whatever. The truth was, it was a field, okay, that we were becoming aware of from a very limited time, limited field at that particular moment of time, because it was so many years ago. But you're being aware when you walk into places and you just feel, you look around, you will no doubt, you will feel, oh, something doesn't feel right. And if you want to know where it is, like start to look, say, okay, well, where is it? And pay attention to where your eyes go. Because typically that's the thing, like your eyes will go there and be like, oh, okay, it's right there. All right, we're gonna, whatever word you want to use for it, we're gonna clear this. We're gonna bring that, beautiful energy in that field, and it's just this beautiful symbiotic, energy with everything and everyone, or whatever you want to say, right? Because there's no right words, no wrong words, but it's that whole aspect. And Tracy, I know you had talked about the EMFs, and you have this great story of working with the EMF field and feeling, and you might, I know you just said some of that whole point, but I feel like, well, they're saying there's a piece missing in there, and I don't know what it is. So hopefully when you're saying if it's coming to you, the EMF, well, now they're saying two things. Okay, the EMF field, they're asking you to, when you were working with that, to sort of share a little bit of how you recognized you could shift and change that, and what you actually were doing. And I know you said, I went here, I went there, I went there. Was it just an energetic, okay, we're expanding this out, and you were feeling the shifts and the changes? And then from there, we're going to have to go into you saying, because everybody needs to be very aware of this, you saying, I think you were watching a TV show, okay, more of that, nope, we're washing this out, and doing that thing. So what do you have to say on the EMFs, if that made any sense at all? Because I was just sort of, they were giving me little pieces.
Well, and it's interesting because, and then when you do a little flashback of like, oh my gosh, I've always kind of noticed that wiring was all bundled in that area. And I'm going back 20 years that I was kind of shown, either way, hey, maybe do a little modification here or work with the energetics. And neither are wrong. Like you can get little things that you put in your electrical outlet that kind of make the energy, those
Yeah.
things are not bad. I don't discount those at all. There's all the steps of how you're gonna manage the energies per se. But it goes back to that we are a part of everything. Everything's a fractal of us. So if everything is that original, that divine spark, that source, I see it as there's a piece of source energy in every single thing. And we share that. So of course it's going to be a cohesive, harmonic relationship because it's us. It's that element of us. So I do actually like and appreciate that you can play with it, address it, handle it in so many different ways. Whether you want to, move. So let's just say you have an EMF bombardment. Okay, well, it's so much I got to move. Or you get all the little tricks of the trade, and you try and filter the energetics so they're not, blasting, because you can tell now I studied up on it. Or you go in and you work with actually it's electricity, it's magnetics. We are magnetic, and you start to go be in collaboration with it. I know that sounds very elusive and esoteric, but what's the downside? How much, if you're driving in your car, work with energetics. And I just want to throw in, because this David Clements guy, who's just a hoot, sure enough, this has happened a lot. these intelligent packets that drop into our field. So I'll get these big, crazy knowings and awarenesses, and sure enough, I'll be led to a podcast and they're talking about it. And it's kind of now David Clements is one of the few, but he creates this piece of technology, and that's what it does. It creates harmonics in the field. And the way I'll explain this is if you're holding, it's like music. There's only a certain note that can shatter a window. Like, it's all frequency, hertz, harmonics, and they hold different fields. And some of them, let's just say if someone's like under their breath, like saying a bunch of negative things, and then there's this really high, you're not even going to hear that distortion energy and the clarity. So I know it's way out there, but these are the things that my head goes to. Like, oh, that's what you do? You just hold that clear, pure field, and then that distorted, junky, clunky, dense energy that's fearful and scary, it gets diluted, the water drop. No. So anyway, I know, but because there's so much I could say, and it is fascinating, and play with it, but also use the tools along the way. Oh, I wanted to say that David Clements guy, he did create it. It's very reasonable. I'm going to say 80% out of there is potentially junk. I wouldn't listen to a TikTok, Instagram influencer, but hey, if you intend that it works for you, it could. You know what I mean? But he said, you don't need this. You can do this on your own. And this is, of course, after I've got all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he agrees with me. Like, so I think there's just so much validation out there of we can do all this. But yeah, use the tools. Use whatever tool works for you with that higher knowing of, oh, this is a remembering because I know your higher self. I actually like that you said that because it brings it back to us. No, it's us. It's not the guides that are doing it for us. It's
Yes.
not the angels. No, it's actually you. Empower you, let it be you. You can have all the collaboration. I love collaboration. I love intelligence and I love collaboration. But really you steward, you be the captain of your ship. And then, okay, anything there?
No, yeah, that's good. And then we're moving on to the part where you're like, more of this. Well,
So I won't go into the, but anyway, I've been drawn to these shows in emergency rooms, and I can pick a lot of beefs with the whole medical system. So actually, my daughter, I said to her, gosh, why am I? She actually recommended The Pit. It's a great series. It's on Netflix if anyone wants to watch it. And I'm watching myself, which I do often, going, why are you watching this series? Like, this is not your jam. And I was saying to Renee, I was like, having a self-awareness of no, there's so many amazing people in the medical field. They are amazing. They're passionate. They're brilliant. And there's so many amazing new medical technologies that are they're great. Like I don't know, and I don't even know if they're real. It could just be made up for the show, but I'm hoping they're not. And this is what I do. I'm like, oh my God, it takes your blood, and like I've seen this stuff energetically, and now it exists in the medical field. That's a huge celebration and victory. So I was like, yeah, this is the good stuff. We love the good doctors. We love the passionate people. We love these awesome, modalities that are so in coherence with bringing the bodies back into their own self-regulating powers. And the body's amazing. I mean, if even half the stuff on the show is true, all I kept saying is, wow, our bodies are miraculous. And then, and I love talking to Renee because I was like, yeah, it's so great. It's so exciting. So many victories. And I go, and of course, there's the real storyline is fentanyl overdoses and child molestation and drowning and active shooters. And I was like, but no, we don't. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I'm going to own it. I was like, more of this. This is awesome. And yeah, we don't need that. Where I'm not even, what? Oh yeah, that's the storyline. No, that's not the storyline. This is the storyline. So gosh, yeah, just claim the good and the stuff that is not. I just am like, no, thank you.
what's so awesome about that is when she was telling me the story and when she was saying, okay, more of this, you could see the energy go out. And that brought me into a remembrance of years ago, something was going on in the world. I don't know what it was. And I said, well, can't we change that? Can't we do whatever? And I heard, of course you can. And I said, well, then do it. And they're like, somebody has to ask. We can't just come in and start to do it. There's energetic laws. So when you ask, that's what moves things forward. So here she's saying, okay, yeah, more of this, more of this. And you could see the energy go up and just start to create and be more of that in our world. Then when she was saying, no, 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 we're done with this, we're done with that, I could see that energy like falling down out and then like flipping over and being enfolded or merged into all of that positive energy. So it was even taking out the fearful energy of this is what happens and this is what it is. All that fearful energy was being whatever neutralized and then came back in to return, what they always say is to return home to its original state, which was that of purity and wholesomeness and just a natural flow of energy, because they said everything has come in as a natural flow, but people have judged it and created because, well, there must be bad. If there's good, there must be bad. They said that's just a belief system. So what I love is that it was like merging and shifting. So anytime you're recognizing something or you hear about something that you don't like, just okay, no, we're not going to have any of that. And when you say that, that energy is going to go out, that you're going to go into that field, and that field is going to neutralize that and then return it back home into its original natural state of this beautiful symbiotic relationship with everyone and everything. So I think that is just so freaking awesome. And but it's again being very aware. And I said what a lot of us fear is things can't be that easy. Well, it became difficult because we were in such a deep fear state. But if you look back, and even if you read books from years ago, the process that was involved was insane. Well, now that all of that is so old and not even, you can go through the process, which they said would be silly, but if you need to do it, do it. But you just really have to say things now or think things, and it starts that motion. And if you need a validation to it, say, okay, well, give me some validation to this, or let me see this, and let me know that this is working. Because they say the stronger you stand in conviction and what you know to be, and let's say you're just like, okay, I know that whatever, everything is peace and harmony. You will start to see more of that. And that's that's your field will become. You will become that field of energy, and more of that will come to you. Again, it's all just energetics. Everything is energy. So it's coming back to that, remembering that whole aspect and being aware. The awareness is huge. Anything, Trace?
I think that's a bucket full.
Yeah. That's a big bucket full of good.
Yes.
All right. So you guys, Tracy mentioned it last time. If we want to schedule a date to get everybody on with us and ask questions so we can answer them, or you just, whatever, let us know and we will do that. I didn't remember seeing any comments from the last one that anybody was interested. So I'm going to assume you're not, but I know you are, but you got to comment. You got to comment so we could do that. So I'll just say, have an awesome everything, everybody. And if you like the conversation we're having and you're feeling this and expanding your energy field, which I know you are, give us a subscribe, a like, leave a comment, and have an awesome everything.
Yep. Living in the field.
Yep. And what do you always say? Choose wisely.
Choose wisely. Yes.